This episode is more so about embodying that next level version of yourself, because sometimes we think that things have to be perfect, or I need this or that before I can be successful, before I can be the CEO, before I can be the wealthy woman. But that part of you starts now. Like, that journey starts now. It's not like I will be X, Y, and Z when I have all of these different things, because sometimes that can become an excuse, right? We can use that as an excuse for why we're not where we want to be. Welcome to the Psychology and Manifestation Podcast with your host, Sudani Firestar. I am so happy you are here. This is episode 11, but this is actually episode number 1 of the video version of the podcast, and I am over the moon. I am so excited to be taking the podcast to the next level. Yay! It's a celebration. And I know that I said in last episode that I was going to come back and share what I did to celebrate episode 10. I am still thinking about how I want to celebrate, but I most likely will be sharing that in the next week or two. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. And you know what? Another big win for the podcast is that it is streaming in 8 countries. 8 countries. The podcast is worldwide. Of course, it is streaming in the US. It's streaming in the UK, Uganda, South Africa, Poland, Russia, Nigeria, and Spain. This is a dream come true. Thank you for tuning into the podcast every week. I love you so very much. So this podcast episode, I'm thinking, is kind of an extension of episode 8 when I was talking to you about alignment and being an energetic match for your desires. And so in that episode, I was talking more so about your dominant vibration and how that affects whether or not you're an energetic match for your desires, right? Because when you feel happy, when you feel positive, when you have trust that things are working out for you, that's when you're going to see the most positive results. And that's when you're going to get closer to achieving your goals, dreams, and desires. But when you are feeling like negative emotion as your dominant vibration, that's when it's so much harder to manifest. And it feels like there are so many blocks, so many obstacles in your way. And you're like, what is happening here? I'm not getting anywhere to where I want to go. And so this episode is more so not just about whether you're feeling positive emotions or negative emotions. This episode is more so about embodying that next level version of yourself, because sometimes we think that things have to be perfect, or I need this or that before I can be successful, before I can be the CEO, before I can be the wealthy woman. But that part of you starts now. Like, that journey starts now. It's not like I will be X, Y, and Z when I have all of these different things, because sometimes that can become an excuse, right? We can use that as an excuse for why we're not where we want to be. But we have so much power. You have so much power. You can make a positive difference in your life and get so much closer to being that wealthy woman, being that CEO, or whichever identity it is that you want to embody as that next level version of yourself. You can be that person now. You can be that woman now. And I'm going to talk to you more about that. And this podcast episode was actually inspired by Cardi B's interview that she did with Angie Martinez on Angie Martinez's podcast, IRL. I had mentioned in a previous episode that I was looking forward to that interview, because I think that sometimes people can get lost in her persona and like the facade and not necessarily really listen to what it is she has to say. She has a lot of wisdom drops if people really like look past the whole persona, the whole identity that she has as being an entertainer, and actually look beneath the surface and really listen to what she's saying. So what she said in this podcast really interested me a lot. She was talking about how she had to take a break from music, and I didn't even realize that she had taken 7 years off from producing and putting out her first album. So she released her first album, then she took 7 years off, and now she's released her second album more recently. And so she was saying within that time period, people might think, oh, you know, that I wasn't making music because I'm a mom and I'm busy being a mother. But she said, really, like, being in the industry was really affecting my mental health, because people were projecting these things about my identity and talking about me in ways that were not me. She was like, they kept saying that I'm insecure because, I changed my physical appearance. But she says, I've always been a really confident person. So she was talking about her early days when she was an exotic dancer, where she used to be, a dancer in the club. And she was talking about how, like, she was like, yeah, before I had the booty, before I had the titties, I was like, I am the baddest bee in this bee. Like, I'm the baddest bee in this club. Like, she did not care that she didn't necessarily have the typical look of someone who would be an exotic dancer at that time. Like, she put herself out there. She led with confidence. And honestly, that's how she has manifested her empire. That is how she has manifested the life of her dreams, because she didn't wait until she had certain things in place before she went for it, before she felt like she was deserving of whatever she wanted to have. And I'm talking about beyond the club, right? I'm talking also about her identity as she was a reality TV star, then she became a rap artist. She had dreams, and she's also talked in other interviews about like planning super far ahead. So she has plans, like she has dreams, she has goals, and she's realizing all of them because she believes that she deserves it. She believes that she is worthy now, like, or back then, before she had the money, before she had the fame, before she had the fortune. So that is the wisdom drop. That's the Cardi B wisdom drop that inspired this podcast episode, because this has come up in so many programs that I've been a part of, so many books that I have read. It's always about how you need to embody the identity of your future self now. Like, all manifestation teachers talk about this. So, for example, what I was saying earlier, if you desire to be the CEO, if you desire to be the wealthy woman, like, how does the wealthy woman carry herself? How does the wealthy woman talk about herself? How does the wealthy woman see herself? Right? What is she doing? How is she spending her time? So when you think about the next level version of yourself, what are you doing? How are you talking to yourself? Like, what does your self talk like? Is your self talk positive? Let's use the example of the wealthy woman, because I think this is so important, because I think money is such a significant issue for so many people that this is an excellent example to play with and to use to get deeper into this topic to make it a little bit more juicy. Okay, so let's think about you as the wealthy woman. Say that that is the next level that you're going to, right? But say that when you talk about yourself or you talk to yourself, you have a lot of negative thoughts about money. When you talk to yourself, you think of yourself as being poor. You describe yourself as the poor woman. When you talk to other people, you describe yourself as poor. You don't have this, you don't have that. You're thinking about all the things that you are lacking, and it's making you feel bad, right? It's making you feel like you're not where you want to be. That doesn't inspire you, right? Thinking about how broke you are. But if you are using language to describe your circumstances that makes you feel more empowered, that makes you feel wealthy and luxurious, like, that's going to make you more of an energetic match for where you're going with your identity and your dream life. So it's about your confidence. It's about the energy that you project. It's about the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you describe yourself to other people, whether that's the way that you describe your physical appearance, the way that you dress yourself, the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis about how you are going to spend your time. Like, as the wealthy woman, what kind of activities are you doing? What kind of venues are you visiting? What kind of foods are you eating? How are you caring for yourself? If I'm thinking about the wealthy woman is treating herself like a goddess. The wealthy woman is treating her body like a temple, right? She's taking care of her skin. She's taking care of her body with water, a healthy diet. She's getting adequate rest, right? She is making sure that, she gets her exercise routines in whenever she can, even if it's just going for a walk. She's got her business deals going, or maybe she's the CEO, right? Like, so how is she organizing her schedule? Who is she networking with? Which environments is she putting herself in? Which events is she attending? Is she attending conferences? So just think of yourself as that next level version of yourself, and the kind of self-talk that you'd be using, the way that you'd be describing yourself in your life circumstances to other people, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you dress, where you're going, what you're doing, all of these things matter for embodying the next level version of you. The bigger, bolder, brighter version of you that you dream about all the time. That is how you become the energetic match. You think of yourself as the baddest bee. That is how you become an energetic match for being the wealthy woman, for being the CEO, for being the supervisor, for being the leader of whatever organization or company you desire to lead. And so then also, when you're thinking about that next level identity and version of yourself, so what some people like to do is what I would call incremental upgrades. So you may be thinking to yourself, like, wow, like the wealthy version of myself would be driving a Lamborghini, right? But you're like, I don't have Lamborghini money now, right? Or you're like the next level CEO version of me would be flying in first class. I would be getting my, hair and nails done every week. I would have like a chef. I would have someone cleaning my home like every week. But the thing is that you can do incremental upgrades. So say that you don't feel like you're in that position to be going to get your nails and hair done every week. But when are you able to buy a beautiful nail polish and paint your nails on a weekly basis at home? Say that that's important to you to have your nails done, and the next level version of yourself is doing that to care for herself. So maybe you're painting your nails at home every week. Maybe you're doing like a little spa day at home. Like I love doing spa days at home. I have face masks in my fridge. Like they feel so good and nice and cooling. You could, put some cucumbers on your eyes, but you can do like a little spa treatment at home. You could do a little pedicure or spa treatment at home. You don't necessarily have to go to the salon yet if you feel like you're not there yet. You can watch YouTube videos on how to do your makeup or to try a new hairstyle, okay? Or say that, for example, you don't feel like you're at first class level yet. I mean, could you look at, using credit card points to get an upgrade in a hotel? Could you go to business class? Maybe you fly economy right now, but maybe the next level is business class. There are just like small things that you can do to get to your next level where you don't really feel like you're going out and blowing a whole bunch of money, blowing a whole bunch of cash. So I'm not telling you to do that, but just think of the small ways that you can up level, do incremental upgrades to get to your next level without going too crazy where you feel like you've blown all your money. But think about how you can embody the next level version of yourself now. It might even be that if you want to be the CEO, what are you wearing to work? What is this the current supervisor or CEO or executive director at your job wear now? Use that as a bit of a guide for how you can dress yourself where you're turning heads. People are noticing you. They're like, oh, in the times where I actually put in that effort and I come in looking crisp and so clean, people are like, oh, you got a boyfriend? Oh my goodness. The way that you dress yourself, the way that you put yourself together, it really changes how people perceive you, whether you think that that's fair or not. But these are just some of the examples of ways in which you can become an energetic match for that manifestation goal that you have on your desires list that I've spoken about in other episodes. If you're not sure what that is, go rewind, take a look back, binge the podcast, go check all of those episodes out. So, embodying that next level version of yourself requires you to change your mindset and for you to have a different outlook on your life circumstances and your identity. When you make an effort to do that, you're going to be opening up channels basically for new opportunities because you're going to be putting yourself out there more. People are going to be noticing you more. You are going to be putting yourself into environments that maybe you weren't typically in before. Maybe you don't even know what kind of opportunities are going to present themselves to you once you start making those incremental upgrades and you start putting yourself in different environments that you don't typically put yourself in. Push yourself a little bit, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and you're going to watch the magic happen. This topic is also similar to something that I brought up in episode 4 of the podcast when I was talking about how you teach other people how to treat you, right? based on how you treat yourself, right? Because you model how you want other people to treat you. So that means that you really got to evaluate your self-talk. You have to really evaluate how you describe yourself to other people and how you talk about yourself to other people. So if you talk to yourself badly, or you talk about yourself badly, or you talk about your life badly to other people, just imagine what that looks like to them, right? If you don't see yourself as the CEO now, if you don't see yourself as the wealthy woman now, other people are not going to see you that way either. You have to project that. It begins with you. You lead in your life. And also, the universe cannot override your free will. So if you are stuck in the mindset of, I'm poor or I'm not good enough, the universe is not going to override that and then all of a sudden be like, hey, you're wealthy. Like, no, you have to show the universe that you are deserving, you are worthy of being wealthy because the universe already believes that, but you have to believe it first. And let's take the example of people who win the lottery, right? So, say the person has always thought of themselves as being poor, but all of a sudden they get this windfall of cash money, right? And they're flush with cash. They got this lottery money. But at the same time, they still see themselves as a poor person. So, yes, they have this windfall of money, but can they keep it? Because maybe you actually acquire that manifestation, it comes to you, you attract it, but can you keep it? Or do you lose it? Because you're still stuck in that old version of yourself. You're still stuck in that old identity of yourself as the person who is lacking, the person who isn't enough, the person who isn't worthy. You really have to begin to act as if being that next level version of yourself, being that version of yourself who's way down in the future, maybe not that far, honestly, because once you change your mindset, you could be that next level version of yourself tomorrow. An opportunity can present itself for you to be a leader tomorrow. An opportunity can present itself for you to be wealthy tomorrow. You never know. But when you continue to do this work, you are speeding up the amount of time it takes for you to manifest. All right, my love. So, what can you do with what you've learned today? I've already basically given you all the homework, but let's do a recap. Okay, so this episode was about embodying the future version of yourself, no matter who she is, right? So I've primarily used the examples of, women in leadership, right? You being the CEO, you being the executive director, the supervisor, the wealthy woman. But it can be other areas of your life too. Maybe it's you being the wife. Maybe it's you being the mama. Maybe it's you being the world traveler. Maybe it's you being the podcaster, like yours truly. I mean, it could be anything, really. It's about whatever goals, dreams, or desires you have. But here's the thing, you have to work on your self-talk. So how do you talk to yourself? How do you treat yourself? And this could actually be like in other areas of your life. So like I mentioned, like there could be love, right? It could also be about wellness, right? It can be about fitness. So how do you talk about yourself and how do you talk to yourself? How do you talk about your status? Are you talking about yourself as a poor person? How do you talk about your body? Do you talk about yourself as someone who isn't in, good shape according to your standards, isn't good enough, doesn't look good enough? I don't look, like her, or, I want to look more like that. Like, I'm not this, I'm not that. Or are you like, I'm the baddest bee in this club? Or are you like, I am the most amazing woman. I am so smart. I am brilliant. I am wealthy. I am so fortunate. I have so many things going for me. I am so talented. Any organization, any company, any business would be so lucky to have me. As one of my mentors, Michaela, says, I am the best thing since sliced bread, right? You have to be your own hype woman. You have to be your own biggest fan. Embody Cardi B in that sense, right? Where she was like, I've always been a very confident person, no matter what anyone else says about me. So there's that element of how you talk about yourself. And then there's also the element of how you talk about your circumstances and how you talk about yourself to others. Over the next week, I want you to really reflect on that. And in those moments when you have a negative thought about yourself, or you find yourself talking negatively about yourself or your circumstances to the people around you, like think about how you could see that from a different perspective. How could you choose to see your life and yourself differently? How could you see yourself as the wealthy woman? How could you talk about yourself as the wealthy woman? How could you talk about yourself as the woman who loves her body? How can you talk about yourself as the woman who loves herself? Because when you love yourself, that's how you attract love, right? So how can you talk more kindly to yourself? And then how are you spending your time as that next level version of yourself? Envision a perfect day as that next level version of yourself. What are you doing from morning to night? How are you caring for yourself? Who are you spending time with? Where are you going? What activities are you doing? And how can you integrate more of that into your current life, your current circumstances? What are the action steps that you are going to take to make big moves in your life as that next level version of yourself? And as I mentioned before, what are some of those incremental upgrades you can make to be that next level version of yourself? And it doesn't mean that you have to go blow a whole bunch of cash that maybe you don't feel like you have at this time, right? But it's like gradual, like baby steps. Or if you feel really empowered to take a big step because it's not going to really take much financially for you to do it and you want to go there, go for it. But like I mentioned, you can do things at home. You can do things on like a smaller scale that don't cost a lot of money to get yourself closer to that goal, to make you feel energetically more like that next level version of yourself. So that is your homework, my dear. All right, that's all I have for you. And I would really love to know how you've been benefiting from the podcast thus far. What are some of your wins? Please share your wins with me. If you've been implementing the homework and you've been noticing a positive impact in your life, you've been manifesting amazing things, I would love to know your story so I can share it here on the podcast. So you can DM me on Instagram at Sudani Firestar, and you can let me know how you want me to present your story. Do you want to use your first name, your initials, a nickname? But please, please, please send me a DM, share your incredible manifestation stories, because it's going to be so inspiring to so many other women. And then if you're not already doing so, please follow the podcast and subscribe. I'm on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. And then also sign up for the notifications so that whenever I drop a new episode of the podcast, you know exactly when it's available. All right, my dear, it's been such a joy, such a pleasure. And until next time, love you. Bye.